I am Stéphane Raud. I'm Attaché for Science and Technology at the French Embassy in Washington, D.C. And I have the pleasure to welcome you all to this first three-day transatlantic symposium, during which we will discuss initiatives by research and academic institutions to mitigate environmental impact and advance sustainability. When we first had the idea and discussed the symposium project with our longtime and excellent partners, the Global Council for Science and Environment, we felt it was time to initiate this French-American discussion. Thank you, Michel, and all your team for your involvement. Thank you very much. In these recent years and months, we observed many initiatives in France as well as in North America, emerging from students, researchers, community, but also from university and research institutions. I understand that more than 300 people did register these recent days to our transatlantic symposium, which sounds like a success. It clearly demonstrates that the community feels responsible and concerned to advance sustainability. During the symposium, we should feel how the ecological transition is on its way within every aspect of research organization missions. In addition, the seminar aims to foster French-American dialogue on the subject. So this is why you will be allowed to ask questions. But to open our symposium discussion, I have the pleasure to introduce His Excellency Philippe Étienne, Ambassador of France to the United States. You have been diplomat advisor to the President Emmanuel Macron before joining Washington, D.C. And I suppose you will tell us how climate change and environmental issues are important within your agenda. But also, what I remember is that when you accepted to give your very first speech as ambassador only a few hours after you took office, and this very first speech was on the day of your arrival. And this speech was already dedicated to a French-American panel, which was, the subject was biodiversity, nature conservation, and environmental matters. So the floor is yours again, Mr. Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much, Stéphane, and dear friends, everybody. Yes, I remember, Stéphane, our first interaction on the day of my arrival. It was, as you said, on the theme of biodiversity, and it's a great honor for me to see virtually a lot of personalities, including some who have played such a great role in this challenge of biodiversity and raising the awareness of the community, international community. Today, I'm happy to hear from you, Stéphane, that you have a great number of participants to this transatlantic symposium, which shows, as you said also in your introduction, a shared concern about issues of sustainable development in general, but also about our own environmental and carbon footprint in our daily activities. We have had recently encouraging news, especially in the United States, with the first decisions taken by the new administration and complying with what he had promised, the decision by President Biden on day one of his mandate to come back to the Paris Climate Accord. And the climate summit organized on April 22nd and 23rd was also a diplomatic success, and also a success because the US organizing this summit could get some new commitments on the fight on the road to the COP26 in Glasgow next November, on the national commitments by some important players like Canada and Japan. We still have much work to do. The European Union, together with the United States, have a responsibility, but we wait also for new commitments from other main emitters such as China, India, Russia. We in Europe and in the US, we have our own commitments. The US released its new nationally determined contribution. We have now to implement our commitments and to make credible our commitment to carbon neutrality in 2050. It's really now that we have to show it can happen, and in particular in our intermediary commitment for 2030. So the Paris Climate Accord obviously remains for France the cornerstone, the guiding compass for our international and internal action. But we also have in Europe and in France in particular to make our homework. This is one of the core objectives in our recovery, post-COVID recovery plan, what we call France Relance. We put the green climate and energy transition at the core of our recovery, of our own Build Back Better policy in France and the EU. We have also the new climate law resulting from our Citizens' Convention. And I would also mention the overseas effort of the French Development Agency in the framework of an increase of our financial commitments for our partners in developing countries and the increase of French ODA budgets. We also, as I said, are, as one of the member states of the European Union, very much committed to implementing the 55% reduction in emissions by 2030. We have this European Green Pact and many other commitments. We have the co-chair of the Green Fund, which with Mexico this year. France doubled its national contribution. It's about public climate money. We need also to increase private climate money. Green finance is absolutely essential. We have taken a number of initiatives in the last years, and we must, be it at the level of the central banks, at the regulatory level, what we call a TCFD, disclosure requirements for business, at the level of the asset managers, the sovereign funds. We must increase the commitments by all players. And it goes through defining also, of course, what we can consider as a green investment. Finally, the interconnection between climate and biodiversity is an essential challenge. So we in France support the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People. We prepare the COP biodiversity, which will take place in China. We have the very important meeting planned in Marseille of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. And we will follow on all coalitions which we have promoted during the G7 presidency by France 2 years ago, including to address plastic pollution and promote the preservation of oceans. In all these questions, we are aware that all countries, including between the EU and the US, do not give the same answers to all issues, for instance, carbon pricing. So we have a lot of work to do between the United States and the European Union. I'm sure this question of our climate ambition and also biodiversity ambition will be one of the main topics on the agenda of the EU-US summit, which will take place in Brussels on June 15th, during the upcoming visit of Europe by President Biden. We are aware of the importance, but also of the difficulty of all those challenges. This is the reason why the French Embassy in the United States is so much committed, especially our Office of Science and Technology. You, Stéphane, reminded us, we have as embassy hosted workshops to bring together high-level French and American experts on all those challenges. Mega fires, agroecology, ocean development, coral reefs, plastic pollution, sustainable materials. all those subjects, which are both very complicated, but also incredibly important for the success of our policies and strategies against climate change and against the loss of biodiversity. In this fight, in this common fight, which is a fight for which the whole international community, the whole humanity is must be together. We are in together. The community involvement is absolutely crucial. It is not only, as we all know, the matter of governments. It must be the cause promoted by all local governments, but also business communities and all communities in our civil societies. It starts with students calling for climate change to be at the heart of their curricula in their universities. But it's also, I know it because I discussed with many presidents of American universities. It's also a concern at the level of the presidents of the university in France, like in the United States. For example, the French Council of University Presidents has created its own body dedicated to the climate and energy transition within universities, and dedicated to sharing projects related to the environmental responsibilities of universities. And I know that some of your universities, if not all of your universities, are very much here in the US committed to this. It is not the case only of the academic communities, also all research communities are fully committed to preserving the future of our planet and to play their role as research and education communities, but also as communities having their own environmental and climate footprint. In this respect, I value very much the work which you will be doing in the next days. And I want to thank all who have prepared this seminar, and in particular this symposium, and particular my colleagues from the scientific department of the embassy, but also the personalities who have today accepted to participate in this exchange. I am convinced that this symposium will help raise the profile of our communities, which are fully committed to preserving our future, as I said, but also I am convinced that you will be able to use this opportunity to effectively share your experiences, ideas, and projects. We are better off when we learn all from the lessons learned by others. And I look forward also to hearing from the results of this symposium. Thank you very much for your attention, and all the best for your work.